Hi everyone, my name is Mallory Wyrick and I will be presenting on galactokinase deficiency. So my objectives for today are to describe the disease and review major characteristics, review the molecular cause of galactokinase deficiency, state the mode of inheritance of the disease, review a simple pedigree illustrating the mode of inheritance, and describe options for genetic testing. I'll move on to the overview of the disease right now. So galactokinase deficiency is also known as GALC or galactosemia 2. It is actually just a mild form of the classic galactosemia. So what happens in this disease is that the body is unable to break down the simple sugar galactose. So this is found in largely all lactose foods. So this is due to the body's inability to produce galactokinase 1, which is an enzyme that breaks down that galactose. Due to that fact, galactidol builds up in the body, specifically in the eyes, causing cataracts. Cataracts look like this picture right here that's displayed on the slide. It's kind of just like a cloudiness and causes blindness. So more about the disease. It's actually more rare than the classic galactosemia and affects fewer people than the classic galactosemia. It actually affects fewer than 1 in 100,000 infants. So I kind of picked this disease because I'm a registered dietitian, so the treatment is focused on just diet therapy, essentially. Usually when this disease is found, they are referred to a dietitian and an ophthalmologist. Like I kind of stated on the last slide, galactose is found in largely lactose foods, so a lot of dairy products, baby formula, and some fruits and vegetables. So on to the molecular cause of the disease. This is actually caused by a mutation in the GALC1 gene. It's on chromosome 17 at position 25.1. So far, 20 different mutations have been found to cause this disease. Most of them are just missense and nonsense mutations. One of the ones that has been researched most recently has been the P2A2 mutation, which creates threonine instead of proline, which would be considered a missense mutation. So the mode of inheritance is autosomal recessive. I realize that you probably can't see my arrow because of my webcam on the Punnett square, but it's pointing to this, the little a. So to be autosomal recessive, you have to have 2 recessive genes, which are the little a's on this Punnett square. So more about autosomal recessive. It just means 2 copies of an abnormal gene must be present in order for the disease or trait to develop. So both parents have to be at least carriers of this disease to have a child that is afflicted. On the previous slide, the Punnett square, it shows that both parents are carriers of this disease. So it would result in a 1 to 2 to 1 genotype probability and a 3 to 1 phenotype probability. So onto an example of a pedigree. This is actually the pedigree that I made during one of our projects, and it shows the autosomal recessive inheritance pattern. You can see that the ones with the red, shaded red on them, those are the ones that are afflicted, and it can skip generations. You can see that generation 2 here is skipped. More on that pedigree that I just showed you. So 4 total individuals were afflicted. It was Patty, Natalie, Zach, and Zoe. As I mentioned on the previous slide, it skipped the 2nd generation because Jim, the father, gave all of his kids a normal allele since he was homozygous dominant. And then the only other note I'd like to mention is that Drew and Carla and David and Carrie, which both didn't have the disease, but they both had to be carriers to have kids that were afflicted. So on to the options for genetic testing. So it's actually very rare to be tested prenatally. It's not that serious of a disease. It doesn't cause any major organ dysfunction or premature death or anything. It just causes cataracts. So they don't normally care to test for it prenatally. It's most commonly found in newborn screenings in the first 12 to 48 hours of birth, but usually not by genetic testing. It's actually by testing, like lab testing. So things like testing the urine, because the urine will have high levels of undigested sugar in them. This specific test for gout is not mandatory in any of the states, though gout, which is the classic galactosemia, is mandatory. Some hospitals do provide a galactosemia panel, which can be tested, and you can find galactokinase deficiency in this panel. However, that's pretty rare. More options for genetic testing. If it's not detected in the first 48 hours, it's commonly found on a pediatrician follow-up visit, mostly because they will start to form that cloudiness of the eye, which is the cataracts. Obviously, early detection is preferred so we can prevent the cataracts. If the cataracts do develop, they do have to be surgically removed. There are direct-to-consumer tests that are available on the market if warranted. If all the prior screening fails, there is direct-to-consumer testing. And from my research, the cost is about $250,000. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, $250, not $1,000. And here are all my references that I used. Thank you.